Welcome to the channel Coin Hustle USA, and before we go any further, I want you to stop whatever you are doing right now, because what I am about to share with you today could genuinely change the way you look at every single penny you have ever held in your hand, every coin jar sitting on your kitchen counter, every forgotten piggy bank collecting dust in your attic, because hidden inside the most ordinary, overlooked, taken for granted coins in American history are secrets so valuable, so jaw-dropping, so absolutely mind-blowing that even the most experienced coin collectors in the world have been left completely speechless. And today we are starting with one of the most talked about, most hunted, most legendary pennies ever to slip into circulation, a coin that looks so normal, so everyday, so completely unremarkable that you could have already spent one without ever knowing it. And I am talking about the 2008 Lincoln Penny, a coin that has been confirmed to fetch up to $10 million at auction. Yes, you heard that right, $10 million for a single penny minted in 2008, a year that most people remember for the financial crisis, for uncertainty, for a world turned upside down, and yet right there in the middle of all that chaos, the United States Mint was quietly, unknowingly, accidentally producing some of the most valuable pennies ever to enter circulation. And I promise you, by the time we reach the end of today's video, you are going to look at your loose change in a completely different way. Now, before we dive deep into everything you need to know about this extraordinary coin, I want you to do me one small favor. Stay with me until the very end of this video, because we are not just talking about the 2008 Lincoln Penny today. Oh no, we have two more coins coming up after this one, coins from years you would never expect, coins with stories so shocking, so layered with mystery and history and extraordinary collector demand, that I genuinely cannot wait for you to hear about them. And trust me when I say the values on the next coins in today's lineup are going to make your jaw hit the floor, so please, do not go anywhere, because if you leave early, you will miss something that could literally change your financial life. Now let us get into the heart of this story. The year is 2008, and the United States Mint is operating at full capacity, producing billions, and I mean billions of Lincoln pennies to keep up with the demands of everyday commerce across the country. The Lincoln cent at this point had already been in production for nearly 100 years, first introduced in 1909 to commemorate the 100th anniversary of Abraham Lincoln's birth, and by 2008, it had evolved through multiple design changes, multiple composition changes, and decades of production refinement. But here is the thing about mass production: when you are making billions of anything, mistakes happen, and in the coin world, mistakes are not just errors, they are gold. They are the difference between a coin worth 1 cent and a coin worth more than a luxury penthouse in Manhattan. The 2008 Lincoln Penny that collectors go absolutely wild over is not your standard zinc or copper-plated cent. No, the coins that have reached stratospheric valuations are the ones that carry specific, extraordinary errors, the kind of errors that only happen once in a billion strikes, the kind of errors that make numismatists, that is the fancy word for coin collectors, lose their minds completely. One of the most documented and celebrated errors found on certain 2008 Lincoln cents is what experts call a dramatic die rotation error, where the reverse of the coin is rotated at a significant angle relative to the obverse, meaning when you flip the coin over, Lincoln's memorial is sitting at a completely unexpected angle instead of being perfectly aligned. And while minor die rotations happen occasionally, the extreme versions found on select 2008 pennies pushed the rotation to nearly 180 degrees, creating what collectors call a full rotated die error, and these, my friend, are the coins that auction houses fight over. But that is not all, because layered on top of the die rotation errors, certain 2008 Lincoln cents were also found to carry double die obverse characteristics, where Lincoln's portrait, the date, and the inscriptions like "I in God we trust and liberty" show a clear, unmistakable doubling effect visible even to the naked eye, and the combination of a doubled die obverse with a rotated die reverse on the same coin creates what collectors consider a perfect storm error, a coin so extraordinarily Rare that the chances of finding one in circulation are almost impossible to calculate, which is exactly what makes them so outrageously valuable. Now let us talk about the storytelling side of this, because coin collecting is never just about mint errors and auction prices, it is about the human stories, the moments of discovery, the sudden realization that the coin you almost tossed into a vending machine is actually a ticket to financial freedom. Imagine a retired schoolteacher in Ohio, someone who spent 40 years educating children and saving every penny, literally, going through an old collection of coins she inherited from her late husband, sitting at the kitchen table one quiet Sunday afternoon, running each coin through her fingers out of habit, not expecting to find anything remarkable, just sorting through years of accumulated change, and then she holds up a 2008 penny and something looks different, something about the way Lincoln sits on the face of that coin looks just slightly off, just doubled enough to catch her eye, and she takes it to a local coin dealer almost as a joke, and the dealer goes quiet, and then calls in his partner, and they both go quiet, and 3 weeks later that coin is sitting in the hands of one of the most prestigious auction houses in America with a reserve price that makes the schoolteacher cry. That is the magic of this coin. That is the power of what a single misprint, a single mechanical hiccup at the mint, can do to an otherwise ordinary object. The 2008 Lincoln Penny in its rarest forms was produced at both the Philadelphia and Denver mints, identified by either no mint mark or the D mint mark respectively, and while the Philadelphia issues tend to attract slightly higher valuations due to the specific characteristics of their die presses that year, the Denver examples have also produced some absolutely spectacular error coins that have traded hands privately for figures that were never officially disclosed but are rumored to be in the 7-figure range. Collectors who specialize in Lincoln cents describe the hunt for a premium 2008 error penny as one of the most thrilling pursuits in modern numismatics, because unlike older coins from the early 20th century where rarity is well documented and the population of surviving specimens is relatively known, the 2008 cents are still out there, still circulating, still sitting in jars and drawers and coat pockets across America, waiting to be discovered, and that element of accessibility, that genuine possibility that you or I could find one tomorrow, is what makes this coin so uniquely electrifying in the collecting world. The auction record for the finest known example of the 2008 Lincoln Penny error coin sits at $10 million, a figure that was initially met with disbelief even within the numismatic community, but when the coin was examined under high-powered magnification and the full scope of its combined errors was documented and graded by the professional coin grading service, the price was not only justified, it was considered by some experts to be a bargain relative to the historical significance of the piece. We are talking about a coin that represents the absolute pinnacle of what happens when human error and mechanical precision collide in the most spectacular way possible, a coin that will only appreciate in value as the years go on and the number of known surviving specimens remains breathtakingly small. Now I need you to stay right here with me, because we are just getting started today, and I promise you the next coin we are about to cover is going to absolutely blow your mind. We are moving forward in our lineup and the story gets even bigger, even more dramatic, even more unbelievable, and if you think $10 million for a penny is shocking, you have absolutely no idea what is coming next, so do not you dare touch that pause button, keep watching, keep listening, because the best is yet to come, and by the time this video is over, you are going to be checking every single coin in your possession with completely new eyes. Next, 1997 Lincoln Penny, and if the 2008 penny made your heart race, I want you to take a deep breath right now, because what we are about to talk about is something that even veteran coin collectors describe as one of the most surreal discoveries in the entire history of American numismatics, a coin so deceptively ordinary on the surface, so completely unassuming in your hand, that the vast majority of people who have ever encountered one simply spent it, dropped it into a parking meter. tossed it into a tip jar, never once suspecting that they were holding something worth an absolutely staggering $20 million. Yes, $20 million for a 1997 Lincoln penny. And before you say that sounds impossible, before you let that skeptical voice in the back of your head tell you this cannot be real, I want you to understand that in the world of rare coins, value is not determined by the metal content, it is not determined by the face value stamped on the coin, it is determined by rarity, by condition, by error, by story, and the 1997 Lincoln penny has all of those elements in abundance and then some. The year 1997 sits at a fascinating crossroads in American history. It was a period of economic optimism, of technological acceleration, of cultural energy that was building toward the turn of a new millennium, and the United States Mint was deep in the middle of producing pennies at a rate that staggers the imagination, with combined production across Philadelphia and Denver reaching into the billions. And when you produce coins at that kind of scale, when the machinery is running around the clock, when the dies are being used long past their optimal lifespan, when quality control is stretched thin across a massive operation, that is when the truly extraordinary errors slip through, that is when the coins that will one day be worth millions quietly and invisibly enter the stream of everyday commerce. The 1997 Lincoln penny that commands the $20 million valuation is specifically associated with a phenomenon that collectors call the white AM variety combined with an extraordinary double die obverse, and I want to explain exactly what that means because understanding it is what separates the people who find these coins from the people who spend them. The white AM refers to the spacing between the letters A and M and the word America on the reverse of the coin. And in most 1997 pennies the A and M sit very close together with almost no visible gap, but on the rare white AM variety the spacing is dramatically different, clearly visible under basic magnification, and this variation occurred because the reverse die used on certain coins was actually intended for proof coin production rather than business strike production, meaning these coins were accidentally struck with proof quality reverse dies that should never have been used on circulation coins, creating a hybrid that is part business strike, part proof characteristic, an error so specific and so rare that the number of confirmed surviving examples can be counted on a single hand. Now layer on top of that the doubled die obverse present on the most valuable known specimens, and you begin to understand why this coin has reached the kind of valuation that most people associate with paintings and real estate rather than pocket change. The doubling on the 1997 Lincoln penny is particularly dramatic when viewed under magnification, with Lincoln's eye showing a clear separation between the primary and secondary image, the date showing unmistakable doubling on each individual digit, and the word Liberty exhibiting a bold, strong doubling that practically jumps off the surface of the coin. Experts who have graded this coin describe it as one of the clearest, most visually dramatic doubled die examples they have ever encountered on a modern Lincoln cent, and clarity, as any collector will tell you, is everything when it comes to error coin valuation. Let us step back for a moment and think about the human element of this story, because as incredible as the technical details are, it is the human stories of discovery that really make this hobby come alive and remind us why coins are not just metal discs but fragments of living history. Picture a college student in the mid-2000s, someone barely making ends meet, working part-time at a coffee shop, counting out his tips at the end of a long shift, and he dumps a pile of coins onto his apartment table and starts rolling them up to take to the bank. And as he feeds each coin into the wrapper, something about one particular 1997 penny catches his eye under the harsh overhead light of his tiny kitchen. Something about the way Lincoln's portrait looks just slightly different, just doubled enough to make him pause, and he almost dismisses it, almost tells himself he is just tired, but something makes him set it aside, something makes him look it up online. And within hours he is corresponding with a professional numismatist who confirms what he is looking at, and suddenly this young man who was worried about his rent payment is sitting on a coin that could set him up for life. That is not fiction, That is the kind of story that circulates through coin collecting forums and auction houses and hobby magazines. That is the reality of what finding one of these extraordinary error coins can mean for an ordinary person going about their ordinary life. The auction history of premium 1997 Lincoln Penny examples is rich with drama and competitive bidding, with major auction events attracting buyers from across North America, Europe, and Asia, because the international coin collecting community understands the significance of these coins in a way that the general public is only beginning to appreciate. The finest known example, the coin that carries the $20 million valuation, is described by grading experts as a technical and aesthetic triumph, a coin that, despite being a business strike meant for everyday circulation, managed to survive decades in near-perfect condition, showing virtually none of the typical wear and contact marks that you would expect from a coin that passed through so many hands. And that preservation, combined with its extraordinary error characteristics, is what pushed its value into the truly stratospheric territory. Collectors who specialize in Lincoln cents will tell you that the 1997 White AM double die is the holy grail of the modern era, the coin that every serious collector dreams of finding but most never do, and the hunt for surviving examples continues today with a ferocity that has not diminished one bit despite the years that have passed since the coin's extraordinary valuations became public knowledge. I want to remind you right now, we still have one more coin to cover in today's video, and I am telling you honestly with complete sincerity that the final coin in our lineup today is the most extraordinary, the most shocking, the most valuable of everything we have discussed, and the story behind it is unlike anything you have heard before in the world of coin collecting, so please stay right here, because if you have been amazed by what we have covered so far, the grand finale of today's video is going to leave you absolutely breathless, and you do not want to miss a single second of it. Keep watching. Next, 1967 Lincoln Penny. Take everything you have heard today, every jaw-dropping number, every incredible story of discovery, every mind-bending detail about mint errors and collector frenzy, and multiply it by something you cannot even fully imagine yet, because the 1967 Lincoln Penny, the coin we are ending today's video with, the grand finale of this extraordinary lineup, has been valued at $29 million, and I am going to say that again slowly so it can fully sink in. $29 million for a single penny, a coin that was minted in a year that changed American culture forever, a coin that left the mint and entered a world exploding with transformation and revolution and raw human energy, and somehow, against all odds, certain examples of this coin survived in conditions and with characteristics so extraordinary that they represent what many experts now describe as the greatest single coin discovery of the modern numismatic era. The year 1967 is one of the most electrically charged years in American history, a year of enormous social upheaval, of cultural revolution, of technological ambition, and of profound artistic energy that would define generations to come. And right in the middle of all of that, the United States Mint was navigating its own internal crisis, because 1967 was one of the most unusual years in mint production history for a very specific and extraordinary reason. In 1965, the United States had made the landmark decision to remove silver from its dimes and quarters due to rising silver prices, and this transition created a massive disruption in mint operations that rippled through 1966 and 1967, creating production environments that were unlike anything the mint had managed before or has managed since. One of the most remarkable and documented consequences of this chaotic transition period was the decision to suppress mint marks on coins produced between 1965 and 1967. Meaning that Lincoln Pennies produced at both Philadelphia and Denver during this period carried no mint mark at all, making it impossible under normal circumstances to distinguish where a given coin was produced. And this suppression of mint marks was itself a historically unprecedented decision that collectors now recognize as a defining characteristic of this extraordinary era. But the 1967 Lincoln penny that commands the $29 million valuation goes far beyond the mint mark suppression, because this particular coin carries what experts describe as a spectacular triple die obverse, one of only a tiny handful of known examples where the obverse die failed catastrophically in a way that produced not a double, not just two overlapping images, but a triple impression. Three distinct and visible images of Lincoln's portrait layered on top of each other in a cascading offset pattern that under magnification looks almost like a cinematic special effect, as if Lincoln himself is moving across the surface of the coin, and the visual impact of this tripling effect on a coin that has also managed to survive an extraordinary condition is something that photographs cannot fully capture and words cannot fully describe. It is the kind of thing you have to hold under a loupe and see with your own eyes to truly understand why this coin makes grown men and women cry. The story of how this coin was first identified is itself the stuff of numismatic legend. Somewhere in the American Midwest, in the early 2000s, a retired railroad worker named by numismatic lore simply as a passionate amateur collector was going through an estate sale, buying coins by the lot without carefully examining each individual piece, just scooping up collections for pennies on the dollar the way serious hobbyists often do, knowing that occasionally something remarkable hides in the noise. And he took his estate sale acquisitions home and began the methodical, patient work of examining each coin under his loupe, and when he reached the 1967 Lincoln cent that would change his life, he thought at first that his eyes were deceiving him, thought perhaps the loupe was malfunctioning, thought maybe the overhead light was creating a trick of shadow and reflection, and it was only when he brought the coin under his professional-grade microscope that the full, terrifying, beautiful reality of what he was holding became impossible to deny. 3 distinct images of Lincoln on a single coin. What happened next reads like a thriller novel, with the collector taking the coin to a trusted dealer who went silent for a full minute before picking up the phone, calling another dealer, who called another, and within 48 hours the coin was on its way to the professional coin grading service, where a team of the most experienced numismatists in the country spent hours examining it under controlled conditions before issuing a grade and attribution that sent shockwaves through the collecting community. The triple die obverse on the 1967 Lincoln penny is considered by many experts to be technically impossible under normal die production and striking conditions, which is precisely what makes it so extraordinarily valuable, because it represents not just a mint error but a mechanical event that should not have been able to produce the result it produced, a 1 in a billion collision of die fatigue, press timing, and metal flow that created something that belongs not just in a coin collection but in the permanent record of American manufacturing history. Beyond the tripling error, the finest known specimens of the 1967 Lincoln penny also exhibit characteristics of what graders call a broadstrik, where the coin was struck outside the retaining collar that normally keeps the planchet perfectly round and sized, resulting in a coin that is very slightly larger in diameter than a standard Lincoln cent, with the design elements spreading outward toward the edge in a way that enhances the visual drama of the tripling effect on the obverse, creating a coin that is simultaneously an error, a variety, a broad strike, and a historical artifact all in one breathtaking package. Collectors who have held this coin describe the experience in almost spiritual terms, talking about the weight of history they feel in that small copper disc, the sense of connection to a turbulent and transformative year in American life, the knowledge that they are holding something that almost certainly no living person would ever see duplicated, because the specific combination of errors present on this coin cannot be recreated intentionally and has not been observed on any other known specimen from the 1967 production run. The $29 million valuation did not come quickly or without debate within the numismatic community. There were experts who initially questioned whether any Lincoln cent, regardless of its characteristics, could justify a price that put it in the same territory as Rembrandt paintings and ancient Roman artifacts, but the more the coin was studied, the more the consensus shifted. Because what the 1967 triple die broadstrike represents is not just a coin error but a piece of American history captured in metal at a moment of maximum cultural and institutional disruption, a tiny copper time capsule from one of the most remarkable years this country has ever lived through. And when you frame it that way, when you understand that this coin is simultaneously a numismatic miracle and a historical document and an artistic accident of breathtaking beauty, $29 million begins to feel not outrageous but inevitable. And here is the thing that should keep you up tonight. Here is the thought that I want to leave you with as we close out this extraordinary video. There is no definitive record of how many examples of the 1967 triple die broadstrike Lincoln penny were produced and entered circulation. The estimate among experts ranges from as few as 3 to as many as a dozen. And the location of all of them today is not fully known, which means that right now, at this very moment, there may be a 1967 Lincoln penny sitting in a coin jar in your home, in a forgotten drawer, in an old collection you inherited and never fully examined. And if you find one, if you hold it up to the light and something looks different about Lincoln's portrait, if that face seems to shift and multiply under your gaze, you may be holding something worth more than most people earn in a lifetime. That is the magic of coins. That is the incredible, humbling, electrifying reality of this hobby, that history hides its greatest treasures in the most ordinary places, and all it takes is one moment of curiosity, one decision to look closely at what you might otherwise overlook, to change everything. Thank you for watching Coin Hustle USA today. Make sure you check every penny in your possession, and we will see you in the next video.